time, I'd like to talk with you about your hamstrings. The hamstrings are muscles that lie along the back of your thigh here, from your sit bone to more or less the back of your knee. And what they have to do with posture is that if they're short and tight, they will pull your pelvis down and back like this. And you can see how that affects the whole body. Also, if the hamstrings are tight, it makes it difficult to sit down with an open pelvis so that your spine can be supported from below. Many people talk to me about stretching their hamstrings and working on them and never getting a result. There are two reasons for this. One is that they don't really isolate the hamstrings when they're stretching, and the other is that they never release the hamstrings in their walking. So if you're walking all day with tight hamstrings, the tighter they get. So what I'd like to do is show you some effective hamstring stretches, and then I'll explain to you what I mean about walking. So here's the way most people stretch their hamstrings. They bend over to touch their toes like that. And you notice what has happened is that my hips have gone behind my heels. So that means that I'm not just stretching the hamstrings, I'm also stretching the back and the buttocks. So in a way, I'm faking it. Instead, if I come forward and lean my weight over the fronts of my feet, then I'm really isolating the stretch here. Now, what's really nice is if you can roll down into that stretch and land in the right place. That involves engaging your core muscles here. And if you don't know what I mean, now's the time to buy my DVD, Heal Your Posture, and look at Chapter 3. So, you engage your core muscles, and then you just fold forward like a candy cane and go down. When you get there, if you're not able to touch the floor, it's fine to use a prop. In fact, it's really nice to let your arms rest on something. Now, to deepen the stretch, I could slacken my knees a little bit, and then think about deepening the heels into the floor and lifting the sit bones up. So you're stretching the backs of the legs in two directions. Another important thing is to let the head not come up like this, because if it does, you're shortening the whole back line of the body and you get a less effective stretch. So let the head dangle. Now you're ready to start coming up. You want to re-engage your core muscles in case you let them go like I just did. Let your knees be a little slack, and then start to unfurl your spine from the bottom all the way up to the top. And there you are. If your hamstrings are stiff, don't worry, you can modify the stretch like this. Just squat down to a bench, put your hands on a bench, go down as far as you can. You could even let your head rest. Be sure your knees are pointing straight forward, not out like that. And then you can work the stretch like I showed you before, moving the heels down and the sit bones up. Be sure as you do this that you let your head dangle, you engage your core, because that supports and protects your lower back as you're bent over in this position. So don't worry if you can't get all the way straight initially. Just persist a little bit every day, and over time your hamstrings will begin to become longer. When you get up, take a moment to feel that in the backs of your legs and see if it doesn't allow you to settle more over the fronts of your feet rather than being back on your heels. A stretch that we're often taught in yoga classes is to lie on the back and use a strap to stretch the hamstrings. But many times instructors will tell you to flatten your back against the floor like this as you're doing the stretch. Instead, I'd like to suggest that you bring the pubic bone away from the belly button to ensure that you have a neutral curve in your lumbar spine. That way you can allow your thighs to sink back and be seated in their sockets the way I talked to you about in the video blog back in June. So with your pelvis in that position, engage your core muscles to stabilize your back as you bring your leg up into a diagonal position. Start low and then gradually bring your leg up higher and higher towards vertical. You'll find that it's much more difficult to do than if you bring your waistline back. Now, if you do bring the waistline back like this, then you see I can bring my leg much higher, but in fact, I'm not just stretching the hamstrings anymore. I'm stretching the back and the buttocks. So instead, once again, drop the pubic bone away from the belly button, widen the sit bones, and then you have a really effective isolated stretch for the hamstrings. Here I am, walking in my neighborhood. The main thing I'd like you to notice is how the stripe on my pants sweeps back with every step. Because my leg pushes all the way back, the hamstrings have a chance to let go while I'm swinging the leg forward into the next step. Also, because the leg extends all the way back, there's a hint of rotation in my torso. This extension lengthens the psoas muscle in readiness for the next step. You can read more about this in the blog that accompanies this video. Now here I come with the hamstrings short and tight and pulling down on my pelvis. With every step I swing my heel forward and drag back with the hamstrings, but not all the way back. The timing is such that the hamstrings don't have the opportunity to let go during the gait. And the psoas muscle stays short and tight. Notice also how much stiffer the upper body becomes. And I'd rather not leave you with that impression. I hope this has given you some insight into your hamstrings and into your posture. Walking is a more complicated coordination, and just releasing the hamstrings is not the whole story. But you can learn more about walking through my DVD, Heal Your Posture. So that's all for now. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.